Well, hello everybody. This is JD from We Watch Shudder. A couple of things we need to talk about going into the episode this week. First of all, we very much apologize, but we continue to be plagued by technical difficulties of a variety of kinds. We're doing our very best to look into it and figure out what's going on. Sometimes it looks like we've got it figured out, and then it falls apart on us completely. We had some more audio issues recording this week's episode. It is still very listenable. You can understand what's being said. Michelle sounds fine. Our special guest sounds fine. I sound like I'm talking in a coffee can. But you can still understand what's being said. Normally we would try to fix this or maybe just go back and re-record the episode. Let me tell you why we didn't do that this time. It's because of that special guest that I mentioned. This week, we are talking about the sophomore effort from Jane Schoenbrunn called I Saw the TV Glow. Movie heavily discussed already. I was very excited to see it. And as everybody I'm sure is aware at this point, it's a movie that's very much steeped in trans themes with trans characters and deals with a lot of those issues. And Michelle and I just didn't feel comfortable discussing this particular film without having some proper perspective in the discussion. And so we got connected with Sable Sky, who is a trans woman here in Fargo, and asked them to join the discussion and give us their perspective on the film and just bring a little bit more relevance and such to the discussion here rather than just a couple of detached people talking about what's going on in the film. Sable talks about some pretty heavy things in this episode, and we definitely didn't want to just let that go, but we didn't want to ask them to try and go through that again. We're just presenting the episode as it is. Again, I apologize for the audio difficulty, and we are doing everything we can to correct that. But I think you will appreciate the episode still. Here you go. I Saw the TV Glow.
All right. We are, Michelle, we don't start an episode with a laugh. Guys, welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. This has already been an active conversation before we even hit record. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle, but also, no, you're okay.
Who else is here with us?
Also, Sable Sky. I thought that was a segue for me to introduce myself. But,
this is
all good.
Yeah, I'm Sable Sky. I play guitar in Straight Line Arrival and sing sometimes and have a DVD collection. And I really liked I Saw the TV Glow, so I'm here to talk about it.
Yeah, so I was going to say, Sable joining us from Straight Line Arrival, and you may also be familiar with Sable from an impressive collection of Wedding Crashers DVDs. How many are you up to now? Oh my God.
I think we're sitting on 810. I think is the official count.
810 DVD copies of Wedding Crashers. I almost wish this was a video podcast because they just tipped the camera over so we could see their collection, and it is incredible. And this is where I frankly expect I'm about to lose the podcast, because Michelle knows a thing or two about collections and obsessive collecting as well. So,
yeah, the second I saw the 800 DVDs, I went, oh, my people, because I collect squelching subtitles from TV shows and movies, and I'm up to 1,500 screenshots right now. So I also obsess about crazy things that nobody else does. So yay, another one.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So yeah, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, first of all, thank you very much for checking out the show. We Watch Shudder is where the name comes from. We focus on new releases from the streaming service Shudder. When they don't have anything available, we focus on other horror and horror related things that we want to talk about. Today we're talking about one that I have been actively looking forward to for so long. Since seeing We're All Going to the World's Fair back in 2022. Michelle, what are we talking about today?
Well, luckily, we are talking about I Saw the TV Glow and not
Yes.
We're All Going to the World's Fair, because JD and I did not stop talking about that for a while because we had different opinions.
Oh, we very much did have different opinions. So today, we're talking about Jane Schoenbrun's new feature film for A24, I Saw the TV Glow. And look, there's no need to even ease into it. Everybody understands that this is a movie that's been created by a trans filmmaker, and the movie is definitely layered with a lot of message and perspective from that side of things. And neither Michelle or I have that perspective. And for a movie like this, frankly, as soon as it was done, and I still don't know Michelle's reaction. I've got a really good idea, just knowing her as a person, what her reaction might be. But this movie to me felt like something that maybe more than any other movie we've talked about was something that we needed more relevant perspective in the discussion, because we are going to, I think, talk about some heavy stuff. But I think heavy stuff in a hopeful way. I think in some definitely some bittersweet ways. But so that's why we brought Sable in. I had initially there's a friend of ours here in the Fargo Moorhead area named Faye Seidler, who is, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that last name wrong, Faye. Faye is foremost expert on a lot of issues involving especially young LGBTQ plus folks in our area. And I had originally asked Faye to be a part of the show, and Faye said, yeah, I'd really like to do that, but honestly, I think if you talk to my friend Sable, you might get an even more relevant and direct perspective on what's going on. And so that's what we've done today. Sable, if you wouldn't mind, you just sort of fill people in on your background and your I'm so nervous. I've rarely had these conversations. I don't even know what to ask.
I get what you're going for.
Please.
I guess in relevance to me and how I relate to this movie, I guess it's really relevant to start that I'm trans. I've been gender non-conforming for years. I think I started going non-binary like 6-7 years ago, and just recently took like a full shift from the other end of the spectrum, what I was born as. About like a year and a half ago now, I started wearing all women's clothing, started wearing a bunch of makeup. I've been going to work fully dressed up. I have like a really nice job. I'm a fancy server. I serve $150 bottles of wine. At like a really nice high quality restaurant. Like I got like good things going in, like in very, very public ways, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
in like a setting that wasn't the easiest to do it. And
have you discovered how shitty eyeliner is yet? If you start wearing makeup, because oh man, if you're starting the makeup journey, I am 34 and I still have not figured out eyeliner. So
at first it took me quite a long time, but I've gotten wings down. I just had to give up on stressing. The day I gave up on trying to make equal sides was the day everything was just so much easier. That was the day everything changed. Was the day I was like, I need to not be hard on myself and just like draw it. Plus, I have like uneven hooded eyes from an accident a long time ago. Anyways,
no, so you got working against you, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll keep going. I am trans in a red state. And that's one of the big things that this movie is about, is being in a red state and surrounded by the negative influences that try to prevent you from being yourself. And the very first time I ever like quote unquote cross-dressed, wore like full makeup and went out, I was assaulted. I lived in Bismarck, North Dakota at the time. I was assaulted, had a crack put in my skull for myself in the apartment building that I'd lived at. And yeah, we are gonna get heavy this episode. This is a very heavy
No,
movie, so I think it's relevant I start heavy.
Yes, please.
yeah,
I knew
and
we were going there.
yeah, so I just never tried again until I had moved to a more accepting place, which is Fargo, which is still in a red state, but I have a couple blocks of safety here downtown to like be myself and to experiment and like push forward with myself. So I guess that's where I am right now. In 2 weeks, I have an appointment to start HRT.
That's awesome.
Not exactly sure what it's all going to entail or what's the journey is going to be like, but I'm just diving in. I'm just going for it.
No, and I appreciate your willingness to share those things. Yeah, for those of you who are not privy to the video here, this is almost one that I wish we could have run video for. But and again, I do want to point out that I am absolutely certain at some point throughout the course of this episode, I'm gonna say something stupid, and I just want to I want to make sure I'm so
it's like a lived perspective. You don't really
I feel
you can have it shown to you and explained to you like in ways like this movie, but it's something that like even years of listening like I
almost feel like I have no business even talking about this movie, but I do feel that I don't know. I feel like it's a movie that if it's seen by the right people at the right time, it could potentially open some eyes to that experience.
Oh, for sure. So, one of my friends made a tweet not too long ago that absolutely broke me, and she said, when this movie hits streaming services and I start bringing effeminate bi men over to my house, I need you all to mind your own business.
That's, oh my God. Yeah, that's
Well, should we get into the movie part? I want to talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
Into a little bit more. Just so you know, Sable, we always do have a therapy portion on every episode. We don't mean to, but like at some point it'll be like, oh my God, you guys, I just have to talk about how shitty my day was. I cried for no reason. We always get to a therapy portion, so don't worry. Okay. Like it's not planned. We are just neurodivergent folks, and that's what we wind up doing.
Oh, I feel that.
So yeah, I saw the TV Glow. I'm gonna go ahead and read the IMDb description, if that sounds good. No objections, I'm doing it. Okay, 2 teenagers bond over their love of a supernatural TV show, but it is mysteriously canceled. 2024, PG-13, 1 hour and 40 minutes. JD, do you want to go first for hanging us with your spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I'm just having a little bit of medicine. Look, everybody who's been paying attention since I started talking about it already knows my spoiler-free thoughts. This movie wrecked me in every way that I appreciate a movie being able to wreck me. I feel like even as somebody who, my attitude, at least my intent is to be an ally and to be a friend. I feel like there are things about that trans experience that I have a whole new perspective and understanding on from this movie. I also, what I love about this movie is I feel like this movie it bridges things so nicely because it explains, at least in my opinion, the certain elements of that, just trying to figure out who you are. That is crucial to the trans experience, but is also a bridge that can something that can bridge that gap where other people can say, okay, this isn't my specific experience, but I understand that mentality, that just feeling of being lost and not having any idea who I am and trying to figure it out and just trying to sort through all those things. I feel like this movie has so much value on that level. And I want to see it a million more times before I don't get to see any movies again. And I want to show it to as many people as I can. If I could give it 6 skulls, I would. It's a 5-skull movie all the way.
Unsurprising.
No, not at all. Especially again, if you're connected with me in my day to day, I haven't been. I can't stop thinking about this movie. I can't stop talking about it. Michelle, before we move over to Sable, you want to give us your spoiler-free perspective on the film? Finally, finally.
Yes. So this is Jane Schoenbrun's second full-length movie. The first one was We Are All Going to the World's Fair. JD and I both had very strong opinions about We're All Going to the World's Fair because I did not like it, and he considered it one of the best movies of the year.
I love that movie still to this day. It's so movie. Good. So good.
So I was excited to see more from them, but this was one that I wanted to go in completely blind. I feel like this being marketed as a horror movie did it a disservice. It's one of those where it's not a horror movie, they just don't know where to put it, and it has uncomfortable topics, so they go, oh well, that makes us feel bad, horror, and it's not. I think it transcends that. I really went back and forth. I have made a decision, and I am going with a 5.
Of course you're going with a 5. You saw the movie. How could you not?
I like a movie where I can keep learning about it afterwards, and I went down rabbit holes of people's interpretations of specific scenes, and this is a thing with me where I like a movie where I have more engagement after the credits roll, and I want to go and read like what other people have to say about it. So far, it's not like a stale conversation. I watched this a week ago, and I'm still finding new things to enjoy about it and learn about. So I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, even it's great for that that trans perspective, but it's also just a really, really good, weird movie about finding yourself. It's from the trans perspective, but this, as a neurodivergent person, I related to Owen so much of trying to figure out who you are and what you enjoy. So I loved it. I'm gonna go 5. I really debated, and I was like, am I just into the hype too much? No, 5.
What was the other option you were debating, Michelle? It was between 5 and 1. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what's the big jump here? But
no, I was like, my 5 is Mad God on a scale of Mad God, but they're not comparable.
God, so, Mad God is so good.
Oh my God, I adore that film so much.
That's why it exists on the same level as Mad God, but they're so different. So yeah, I'm glad you understand. Okay, Sable, I would love to hear your rating, please.
I would like to state off first off, I love how this film approached its like blatancy and approach to being from the trans perspective. Like, this movie went out of its way to really try not to be like misinterpreted. And I mean, there's definitely going to be like you said, overlap from like communities that can understand, because there is a bunch of overlap between like neurodivergency and being trans in itself. Because like a big part of like neurodivergency, especially autism, I'm an expert, if you can't tell from my 810 DVDs. Like there's a inability to accept social things that just don't make sense or don't feel right just because you've been told that's the way they are. And like if it just doesn't feel right and just doesn't make sense, like it never will, and you're never going to be able to force that. And like a lot of that is related to identity, because that's the biggest thing that's forced on people, is like who you're going to be. And I feel like this movie was very appropriately directed, marketed as a horror film. But I don't think most people are going to go away feeling that absolute terror. When I left the theater, I was in shambles, shook. Like, I'm trying not to spoil the ending, because we're doing spoiler-free right now. But
right, yeah.
But like,
we forget sometimes.
It directed a primal fear in me that if I don't move forward with my life and I don't start doing these things immediately, like, there's things associated with that dishonesty that are worse than death itself. And it's, like, always going to eat me. And it's like, that was definitely like the most scared I have ever been. And like it was like a terrifying and primal fear. And I think it was just because there's never been a movie that's aimed at that fear. There's never been something that's accurately portrayed that. At least nothing that I've come across. It was definitely a beautiful film. I'm not sure if it's as good as I think it is because it was the first time I've come across something like this. But like even in terms of like filmography, it was and soundtrack and the way the scenes were presented and like even from the beginning, like being labeled Void Town and like just 5 out of 5 the entire way through. It was just beautiful. Just beautifully done.
And it should clarify, just so you're aware, when we rate a movie on this show, this is like we go out of our way to never say like a movie is good, a movie is bad. It's all, you know, I liked it or, well, Michelle will, but I try to like I liked it or I didn't like it, and our skull ratings are more about our experience with the film. Right? How did this film impact us? How much did it make us feel? How much did it make us excited? And so, yeah, I think, and I think that's very interesting. Like even just a little bit of that is exactly because there was a devastation that I felt in how this movie comes to its big finish. But it's interesting to feel that like that's an aspect of fear that I would just not be connected to. I
was really hoping that this movie could be kind of like, you know how Brokeback Mountain was a bridge between queer people and being able to show their fears and what they go through to like people that didn't understand, how that helped like a lot of people get it. I was really hoping this would be kind of that film, but it isn't blatant enough. It's too artsy in its way. It'll never be that.
Right. Yeah. It definitely is limited in its audience by its shall we say its commitment to its aesthetic. It very much has a vision, a visual style that it wants to portray. It has a movie that it wants to be, and then I at the same time I just say that and I start thinking like, in a way, is that also just like not part of the whole situation, right? Like, is that not maybe part of what this movie is trying to be in the first place?
Part of me really wants to redo all of Brokeback Mountain, but in like hyperpop edit fashion.
Oh my god, that would be fantastic.
I don't know what hyperpop is, but sounds
you can
great.
Imagine.
Yeah, I thought of it with a pink tint. Is that right?
Hyperpop is like that style of music where everything's like auto-tuned super high up.
So we're talking about like the music.
Yeah,
okay.
It was pioneered by like trans women because you get away with getting to skip years of vocal training if you just use a Vocaloid unit.
That's my trick. I've always wanted to be a singer, and I'm a terrible singer, so I just apparently need to auto-tune my voice in a very high-pitched manner. I've learned. I'm gonna do that. Singing career starting tomorrow.
All right, so three-way 5 skull rating here from all of us on the show. Now, if you have not seen the movie, and I do this occasionally, and every time I do it, I say I don't think I've ever meant it more, and this is another. I don't think I have ever meant it more. Please go watch this movie before we spoil it for you. Go watch it and then come back and listen to what Sable has to tell us about, you know, some things you might be able to learn from this film. But please go watch this movie. This is your last warning. Spoilers. Michelle. This is my favorite part of the show. Michelle is going to do her very best from memory to summarize the plot of I Saw the TV Glow.
Yep.
Good luck.
I have a short-term memory disability, so that's why this never goes too well. Okay, so I Saw the TV Glow. It's about a person. Their name is Owen. They are later played by Justice Smith, but they don't start out that way. Instead, they start out like a young child, as so many of us do. Maybe not all. Maybe you're born 30, and then you miss the good years, and you just start with like a 401k established, and that's pretty nice. And they are in 7th grade, and they meet a 9th grader played by Bridget Lundy Payne throughout the entire movie. And love Bridget Lundy Payne, but she is in her late 20s, and that took me back for a second of like, I don't know if you can pull 14, but I do enjoy her. And eventually I was like, okay, it's cool. I'm on board. But Owen meets Maddie. They bond over their love of they bond over a discussion of a TV show called The Pink Opaque. Maddie asks Owen if he wants to come over and watch it. He does. So he goes over. They watch The Pink Opaque, and then Owen isn't allowed to watch it. Maddie starts recording them on VHS. Do you guys remember VHS? Those were the good days. And so Maddie keeps giving these to Owen so that Owen can enjoy the show despite not being allowed to watch it. They grow up. Maddie has been abused by father, stepfather, some sort of parental figure, and they want to run away. Owen does not want to run away. They tell their friend's mom to basically tattle on them so that they get grounded. And then Maddie disappears with a TV burning in her backyard. And after a while, they reconnect as adults. And Maddie reveals that basically she went into the TV show The Pink Opaque, which is about 2 girls named Isabel and somebody else. IMDb does not list those names, Isabel and the other one. And so Maddie went into the TV show where they are fighting against the moon guy, Mr.
Melancholy.
Thank you, Mr. Melancholy. And they have supernatural adventures, and she realized that she was meant to be part of that world. And instead of being in that world, she was stuck living her other life, and time was passing her by. So when she was in Phoenix, Arizona, she asked somebody to bury her alive. And when she came out, she was living in the Pink Opaque, and she is begging Owen to let her bury him so that he can also come join her in the Pink Opaque. And Owen, again, chickens out of it. There's a whole thing about rewatching the show and how it's now cheesy, and the initial season finale was very scary, and it's not scary anymore, and that's all very confusing. Long story short, Owen is old now. And Owen works at essentially Chuck E. Cheese and is now screaming in a room full of people, but nobody seems to care. And then goes into the bathroom and has very squelchy sequences. There are a couple squelching subtitles that I did capture where Owen cuts open their own chest and reveals the purple TV glow from the show that they love so much. And then they close their chest back up and they go out and they apologize to all the patrons who seem very indifferent to their presence. I saw the TV glow. The movie.
Yeah, that I think you did a pretty solid job of summarizing the plot.
I left out so much, but I tried.
Well, you got the details, the basics, okay. The ABCs. So, look, I think honestly, there are so the way I go at movies a lot of the time is my entire objective in a lot of ways is to just understand the nuances and the layers of things. And I think I have not even an understanding, but I feel like I saw so many ways. And I think this goes back to what you were saying, Sable, which is the movie feels like it very much was going out of its way to make sure you see its trans thematics, right? But there are a lot of things that I'm not sure if I understood or not. So I think honestly where I'd like to start is just giving you as our guest and the perspective we really want here, just some time to talk about the movie in depth, with no concern for spoilers, and just your reaction to it and what you feel its positives and negatives would be.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I had turned down my mic a little bit a second ago, so.
Oh.
Sorry.
So I could cough and not be obnoxious about it.
JD just coughs right into the microphone, but
well, JD has 2 different microphones. The microphone he records his audio with and the microphone that's doing the call are not the same, and I just forget to mute, and then I cough in all of my guests' ears, and I feel like a real dick about it. When I only cough in Michelle's ears, I couldn't possibly care less.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, just coughing.
Anyway.
Constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Sable, we can hear you, and we would love to hear your thoughts.
I suppose, where do I start with this?
I think that's why you have to start, because I don't even know where to start with any of this.
You know what? I
guess the biggest. I guess I'll just start with. You know what? Go ahead. Ask your question.
I was gonna say I think the place where we honestly have to just jump right into this is the big climactic sequence, right? Where this movie becomes the message, right? Where I don't know. I want to talk about the parts that were devastating. You said this movie wrecked you. I don't want to. That sounds really weird the way I put that, but I would like to understand from your side of things how this movie might have been even heavier than I necessarily saw it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'll go into it. I think one of the biggest things about this movie, especially towards the end, Isabel gives up on herself, and she lives her life forward as a man, has a family, lives this job, but knows deep inside the whole time, like, Isabel's still in there. Isabel still is her, and is screaming, begging to get out. And there was a time when it would have been easier to do that, and there is still time on the street. Like, was that mocking? Was that truthful? Was that open? It's open for interpretation. It's a really big kick in the teeth for the people who see that and know that that is them. Like, that's how time moves. It's just gone. It's and you just wish you had started earlier, and you wonder if you ever will start. You wonder, like, if that is, and you have those moments, like at the end of the theater, not the end, the end in the Chuck E. Cheese thing, just somebody called Isabel Sir, and it just, every time throughout their entire life getting called Sir, like, it cut like a knife, no matter what, when they were pretending, and just that one time it just set off. And nobody cared. And it hurt so bad for them. Sorry.
No, please. You're right.
But yeah, it hurts so bad. And there's nothing you can do to not make it hurt. Even like the people in my life that I'm really close to. Like, I don't have time to debate the semantics between being called man and a man. It feels the same at the end of the day. When someone says, like, how are you doing, man? It's like, man, what the fuck? And they went in, and then they cut themselves open, and they felt themselves honestly, and then they knew it was still there. And that's a big thing, like, looking in the mirror. Like, you genuinely see that person, that beauty, that confidence that could be there but isn't, because you're not honest to yourself. And there's a really, really big horror in that. And especially in a red state, it's so easy, at least it feels easy on the surface, to just not be honest with yourself. And to go and live that fake life. It feels, it would be easy on the surface to just go forward and do that. And I think that's one of the big things that you don't feel or see until, like, you've lived it. And one of the things too is that's one of the big reasons Isabel pushes Maddie, would never figure out their actual name in the movie, but pushes Maddie away not only once but twice. Is just terrified. The first time it's because Isabel's mom has cancer, and Isabel's guilted into staying around. And then gets violently pulled out of any chance of living to themselves when their head is in the TV. And people notice, oh shit, my kid is trans. The red state reaction was nothing of compassion. It was just violently pulled out. And then years later, when they were reminded of it, and it was shown in flash, like it was there were more blatant scenes throughout the movie, showing Isabel cross-dressing, wearing her clothes, looking in the mirror, and yet again just pushed away. It was there's so much pressure and just violence and fear in going forwards that it can just hold you back that entire time, and it's terrifying knowing that there's a lot of people that are going to live their entire lives like that, and knowing that still I'm still not there yet. I could be. This is my like third time getting to the quote unquote finish line, and something's always happened every time. And I've been there. I've been Isabel pushing away Maddie. And I know that fear. And it was a kick in the teeth having that shown to me for sure.
Yeah,
a kick in the teeth, and then I went and immediately saw it again.
Yeah, well, and that was exactly my reaction the moment it was done. Again, heavy emotion to me. Like I trying to approach it from then like the more cinematic perspectives. I love that like whatever is happening to Owen, like there's like this physical manifestation, right? Like it starts out as like the metaphor of Owen's asthma for something else, right? And it reaches this point where it's not even asthma anymore. Like Owen is clearly physically suffering to an insane degree. He's suffocating. He can barely breathe to a degree that should be having people run in concern for their life. And they're just going through their life like that on a daily basis, and nobody seems to notice or care. To that point where they just violently scream, "You have to help me! I'm dying here!" And it is in that moment that the people are detached the most. They don't even move. They don't look at Owen. They sit. They don't even appear to be alive. They've gone completely just frozen, mechanical. And Owen is now lost in this world, knowing that I am not Owen. And I think that's crucial to the way this story plays. I think a lot of people might look at it and see it as like, oh, there was this, sort of, not even delusional, but this sort of metaphorical aspect. It's like, no, this movie is saying, yes, this is a thing, and this is a real person that you really are, and it's in there, and it's slowly being taken from you. I also, I really appreciate, the element when they're first getting ready to run away and he goes to his friend's mom, and it's something that I imagine it has to, I guess I can only guess, but there still has to be this element of this is a terrifying step. And to take this step means I'm leaving everything I've ever known behind. I'm leaving my family. I'm leaving my home. I'm leaving and frankly, sometimes staying under wraps feels safer, I have to believe, right? And it's just not being ready.
You don't have
in that
to
moment.
lose everything if you stay under wraps.
Right. The only thing you have to lose is yourself, but you get to keep everything else. It's and that's what's so heavy about this movie, and it's such an important message, and again, one that I felt very much crossed a level of you need to understand that trans experience is human experience, right? I never felt it to this level, but there are things that the characters in this movie say about, like, just trying to figure out who the fuck you are. That just really resonated with me in a lot of ways. Michelle, tell us a little bit about your emotional experience with the movie and how it made you feel and what you took from it.
I was so scared you were gonna come back to me because I am not good at vocalizing anything serious. I am a yuck yuck person. I'm here for the
Well, yuck,
jokes.
yuck, break it up for us a little bit. It's getting a little heavy over here.
That's the only thing I know how to do because like I feel things. They don't come out. I guess in a way. Yeah, no, I have a lot of people who I love who are trans and non-binary. I non-binary fits under trans to some people, that classification. So trans slash non-binary, however you classify it. I have a lot of people I'm very close to. So secondhand, I know this story, but I still felt like the way that it told it made it even more accessible, because like I said, that neurodivergency, that is something I can relate to, and mental health is like a big thing for me. Like I'm bipolar and it took me a very long time to accept that, and that's not exactly what this movie is about, but I still felt that, a feeling like there's something wrong with you but there isn't, it's just who you are. And finding like, how am I gonna live with this and how am I gonna make myself happy and just accept that this is who I am. Like it's just accepting who you are. uh it's definitely horrific at certain parts. It's just that I think that marketing as horror makes people who want to see a movie like Tarot go see that instead of see, or like they go see this and they
For
go
sure.
in and then they're disappointed and it sucks. I think we need like, JD hates the phrase elevated horror because that's like what A24 does, and then it's like
Yeah,
horror is lesser, but we need some sort of category for this kind of stuff where it's not telling you like ghost stories, it's telling you real stories that are scarier.
yeah, it's elevated horror. Why did you have to say it, Michelle? No,
This is elevated horror.
I,
I'm sorry, JD.
yeah, but it is. It's a like
Yeah.
it is a very different kind of horror. It is a frankly, I think it's a kind of horror film that we really couldn't have had before, right about now.
Most
Like it
certainly
feels like a
not.
very 21st century horror film in a lot of ways. I do want to talk about it just as a bit of filmmaking because there are a lot of little things here that I thought were incredibly clever. Because
Ooh, that I
Michelle,
can talk about. I have a
you
lot
had
to say about that.
mentioned talking about how Bridget Lundy Payne plays the character of Maddie throughout the entire film, whereas Owen is played by a couple of different actors. And even that to me is kind of, I think, symbolically indicative of the fact that Maddie, from the moment we meet them, has always seemed to be a little bit more sure of who they are. Like they're a little bit more, like they've grasped it, they've reckoned with it a little bit more, they're more secure. And so there's like, I think that, like, to me that's what that represented, is that idea that to a certain extent Maddie is already on their journey to becoming who they are, whereas Owen still has a few more steps to go. I really liked that. Little things like something I wanted to point out, on IMDb, they always have like a goofs or mess up section, and this is so interesting to me because I don't think this is a goof at all. Once you hear it, I feel like, yeah, that's exactly what was done on purpose. It says at about 48:30, the 3 U.S. flags in the grocery store are improperly displayed. Whether hanging against a wall horizontally or vertically, the Union, the part with the stars, should be in the upper right corner, the viewer's left. However, since the flags are hung in the middle of the store from the ceiling, they can be viewed by shoppers from the back or the front. They can only be, quote unquote, right in one direction. The film audience just happens to be approaching them from behind, but to shoppers on the other side of the store, they'll look conventional. And this is listed in here as something that this person thinks is a goof, a mistake
No,
in that
it's
movie.
the header is incorrectly regarded as Ghost. If you're only
Oh,
looking at it on the main IMDb page.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what
Yep.
you. Okay, I'm glad to see that because I just see this. I'm like, how could you have seen this movie and understand even a thing about what it's about, and then somebody points that out to you and not be like, because I didn't notice the flags, obviously, but like once it's explained to me like that, there's no way that's coincidental, right? No way at all. And I feel like this movie is just layered with things like that all the way up. It is. It's such a well-crafted world. We talk about world building a lot on this show, and just making something feel authentic and lived in. And I thought this movie did a fantastic job of that.
There is so much iconic design throughout this movie. Like the
Tell
way,
us about
like
it.
everything from like Mr. Frosty's truck to like the very like pink opaque tattoo design, like it was great from front to finish. The way the chalk was done on the streets was just amazing. Like it looked beautiful and neon and glowing, and it was just brimming with color.
Yeah, like even something like the title of the TV show, The Pink Opaque, I was like, what is this? Apparently it's a reference to a Cocteau Twins album title. And so like just these layers of different things going on here, references to different stuff that might open you up to finding things. I do also want to talk about the Pink Opaque specifically because holy shit do I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's those elements were very clear to me from the get-go, and then when Amber Benson actually shows up in a cameo in the film, I almost lost my marbles. I've seen every episode of that show 7 times, all the way through in consecutive order. So that really resonated with me in a lot of ways, but also, like, that's, like, there's that moment, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of free rambling thought here. What other, like, so the show is obviously a mishmash of a lot of things. I got Buffy from it. I'm a little older than the generation that generated this movie. What other things were going on there that I might have missed with that show as an amalgam of things?
I've never watched Buffy. I'm very jealous of the people that have and were given this film with like so much like thought put into it, like homage towards that. I genuinely appreciated the vibe. As someone who I have a genuine loathing of like the 90s aesthetic. Mainly because
it's fair.
All I remember from the 90s is like trailer park poverty life.
Yeah,
yep.
JD and I too.
It's very hard for me to like glorify it and not try to just like move on from that and be better.
Oh yeah, we
not that I'm vilifying it, but I definitely want to like.
Right. Yeah,
but not being able to afford to eat is not a thing that I have a fond memory of.
It's very hard for me to feel nostalgic for the 90s in a good way.
Yeah, being horribly bullied and having my hair cut off by classmates is not a thing that I look upon fondly.
Yeah, that movie somehow like brought out like a very like positive, bright era of like the 90s.
Yeah, I think they gave you the 90s TV show vibe. So even though you might not have great memories of the 90s, like 90s TV shows, like being able to just like sit in front of the TV, like I related to that so much.
I guess they really did
falling in love with
in your face at the end though, with like re-showing the show and being like, it turns out it was garbage.
Yeah,
that's so true. When Disney Plus came around, I rewatched So Weird, which I had loved, and it's about this teenage girl who goes on ghost adventures, and it's great. And there's like a leprechaun episode and a hacker episode and all this stuff. And I rewatched it, and I went, "Oh, this does not hold up."
Okay, that actually brings up an interesting point then that I'd like to discuss because. So, in my reading of the film, obviously, in my reading, I think it's pretty obvious, but like, so the show is also just a metaphor for people with trans identity issues or non-binary gender identity issues sort of finding each other and working through those together, and that as the show as a metaphor for being your true self, right? But so when we get to the end, when he goes back to watch it, when Owen goes back to watch the show, and Owen's reaction is that it all just feels cheesy and not real to me anymore. Is that what he's actually like? Is that symbolic of him starting to feel like even his own belief in who or who they really are is starting to feel ridiculous to them? Their belief that those things that they've kept inside themselves for so long have reached, they've stuffed them down so long that they don't even know for sure if they connect with them anymore. Is there something in there, or am I just, grabbing at straws here?
Yeah, I mean, to be able to, like, deny yourself, you definitely gotta, like, red pill yourself a little bit, for sure. I mean, that's definitely part of it, for sure.
Sure. Now, that also being said...
Like, you definitely have to change your whole, like, belief system, at least a little bit. If not a ton.
Yeah,
or at least do it on the surface. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We got a little bit of a drift happening, but it's fine. But then also I do agree. Like, I have had that experience of things that I loved when I was very young, and then going back and being like, oh my God, I was very young and naive to what quality is, because this does not hold up at all. But yeah, I thought that was awesome. One thing that I did want to talk about, and I'd love to get your perspective on again, Sable. One of the most curious characters in this to me is Owen's stepfather.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk about Owen's, first of all, played by Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit fame, which I didn't know until the movie was done.
I knew.
I didn't know until you told me right now.
Yeah, that's Fred Durst.
And that's totally Fred Durst.
Are you kidding?
You know you'd be loving this shit right here. LIMP Biscuit is right here.
Stop. Yes, he did it all.
Is it
Chocolate
you're telling me Fred
and
Durst,
the hot dog flavored water is one of my favorite albums.
The same Fred Durst that's touring with Corey Feldman right now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
the very same.
Yeah.
You think you know a person. You think there's no way that the lead singer of Limp Bizkit is going to be in this revolutionary movie that's an allegory for the trans experience. But no, that's Fred Durst. He's rolling.
God, I hated that character so much because the movie wanted to give me somebody to passionately hate.
But now it's Fred Durst and you can't. Or maybe you still
No. I love Fred Durst as a person, but I hate that character even more.
Fair, absolutely fair.
Oh, so because and
Fred
that's
Durst
interesting
is so
to me.
good at getting people to hate him.
So I would like to get your perspective on that character, because to me, with my perspective on it, what I interpreted that character as is somebody trying to be like he's not the worst person in the world, right? Like he's not, he's the guy he's just like, oh, in that show for girls, but he's never like he never throws Owen out. Owen always has a home to go to. There's he's a stepfather. He's the stepfather, but it's I think it's interesting that it's a biracial situation there, as well, with some more context. But it felt to me like they were trying to present this person as a complicated character who is maybe trying his best to understand, but has been steeped in so much of this that he doesn't necessarily do a great job. And I'm curious what your reading of that was, so I can get a more accurate feel for that character.
Well, I mean, the instant it was known, for sure that Owen was Isabel, heavily implied was physically assaulted by them. And then instantly their place to stay only became conditional under the guise that they spend the rest of their life masking as a straight person. So I don't have any positive thoughts towards the person from that second on. I mean, maybe it's admirable that he had kept the kid around, but I think maybe it was more because of a legal obligation than anything.
Sure. Well, and this is why I also wanted to see the movie a second time before we discussed it.
Yeah.
Is because, frankly, the assault element is something that had completely sort of escaped my memory while I was thinking about all of these other things that were going on with the film. And so now, as soon as you mentioned that, obviously, yeah, there's this element involved here for sure. So I definitely
Well, I mean,
to
it
go back
moves
and check
so
that
quickly
out.
that like you can miss that stuff for sure. I'm really glad I went in and watched it a second time. I haven't gone too much and like dug into this movie since then. I've really just like reread on my own experiences of it. I went in surprisingly blind. I haven't seen the director's first film. And I've never even seen another A24 film. This was my first one.
Whoa, welcome.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not like super ill-cultured when it comes to film. I'm always like watching something
The
or another.
A24, they're their own things. They do this kind of stuff.
They got a lot of
like
stuff
that.
that's really going to make you think. Yeah, for sure.
Was Everything Everywhere All at Once A24?
Of course it was.
The
He just wants to wait until I live in a place that has a decent IMAX theater to watch some of these for the first time.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the way to go about it.
I do strongly recommend checking out We're All Going to the World's Fair. Again, Michelle wasn't as taken by it as I was, but I found it just a wonderful piece of work.
I thought it was really good ASMR. I did not enjoy it as a movie.
Yes, that's very fair.
It was beautifully shot. I think why I like this movie is there's a lot going on, and I got to see the camera work that I love so much from, or like that I saw potential with, and now I got to see it in a way that I loved it. So, it's beautiful. I like the parachute at the beginning. There's so much of this that does evoke nostalgia in a positive way for me, of the parachute and Owen as a small child just going in there and then being engulfed, and the way that the camera expands almost into like a fisheye view. Just from that little bit at the beginning, I went, oh, okay, we're stepping it up. I am going to love this visually. It's no surprise that it is a very purple movie with pink and blue being the colors of the trans representation.
We do enjoy purple movies.
We do. Color Out of Space is like the purpliest movie. So this is a very purple movie. One thing that I wanted to talk about, Sable, you are a musician. How did you feel about this soundtrack?
The soundtrack is like it's kind of hit or miss. Part of it I go back to mostly out of nostalgia. I couldn't listen to it for a while after first watching it, but like it's good. It's very, very fitting for the film. Like it's exactly what it needs to be. It doesn't need to be my personal favorite music taste of all time for it to be amazing and fitting throughout the film. And then too, I did want to say, while I had the thought in my head, two shots that I really, really loved in the movie that really, really stood out was there was a shot through like really good lighting through colored smoke, and Mr. Frosty's car was on the side of the was on the road, and it's just so iconic and it's just so cool. And another one of my favorite shots was when Owens came across a down power line on the side of the road, and the way everything was like flashing up and down. And, like, I don't know, that whole scene felt, like, really well done to me. The way... I felt like that would have been really hard to make and come to reality and make it, like, believable. But not only believable, but, like, magical and surreal. And, like, keep it in element. I don't know how I would have represented that myself. And I feel like it was... I can't exactly explain how well is that, but it was really nice. Like...
This is why they need to go see it.
Electricity sparked and everything.
They haven't
go see this film.
See it. No, and again, even just like these conversations, I'm having more thought. Like you talked a lot about how something that I never considered, because as soon as I saw that There Is Still Time chalked across the street, I immediately was like, oh, this is like this hopeful message. And that idea you put forward, Sable, about like, is it a hopeful message? Is it kind of a mockery in a sense, and something that I never noticed until we had this conversation is how much this movie plays with time, and like you said, how a lot of things just flash by so quickly, and if you're not fully tuned in and paying attention, like there are things you could miss, and I just this is a filmmaker who, for again, has made I think, a very important film here that is going to resonate with a lot of people for a long time. But also, my God, after their first two films, I am so excited about what Jane Schoenbrun is going to do going forward, and I just love what that says about more different voices and more different perspectives in cinema and entertainment. I just want some new goddamn stories, right? I've seen so many stories that are just rehashings of the same thing, and we're getting these new, vibrant, alive stories, and I love that.
Yeah, like, this is definitely one movie, too, that, like, it is entirely complete in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I genuinely do not want, I don't think it would ever be necessary for there to be, like, a sequel to this.
Oh, God, no. Please, no. No.
I would...
Please don't sequelize this.
I mean, I would go to it, but I would go to it with such an unbelievable amount of hesitation.
Yeah. You know what we do need? We do need the Pink Opaque TV show, though. The original one that's that dark, gritty.
That was actually
the original
good, the
way
good
that
version.
Yeah, like, you know, how Owen remembers it. I would watch it. Oh my God, Mr. Melancholy is terrifying. The way his face is morphing all over. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
That took a turn, a really good turn. But oh man, that's good.
Can I tell you guys the moment that I understood that this movie was literally referencing Buffy the Vampire Slayer as part of that show?
What if we say no?
Well, it's my show.
Okay.
Oh, it's our show, Michelle. You know I love you.
I was like, wow,
no,
okay.
just as a reflection of weird details, where it hit me is they start showing footage from the Pink Opaque the first time Owen is watching the videotape. The font that they use for the credits in the Pink Opaque is the same font they use for the credits in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I was like, is that the Buffy font? That can't be the Buffy font. And yes, it is the Buffy font.
That is such a, like... That is such an art of love towards that fan service. I love it.
Yeah.
That's not the phrase I was trying to use, but there's somewhere there.
Yeah, I was just blown away. I was like, wait. And then, like, they use all sorts of lingo, like they call it the big bad and these other things. But... and then, of course, like the villains all gave me like Power Rangers vibes. I don't know about you guys, but
yeah, of course.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Very villain of the week. I love it.
A lot of the discussion has been led by JD asking questions because he likes to immediately go into interviewer mode. Sable, is there anything we haven't talked about? I'm saying you like to interview. That's how we go, even on our normal ones. I'm saying, like, are there things that we haven't covered that you really wanted to talk about? We've covered everything that I love about this movie. I am not good at putting things into words. I put them into yuck-em-ups, and that's about it. So I'm wondering if you have anything else.
Not too much. I feel like I've really gone into a lot of what I remember. I thought about watching it again, so I'd like come in with like a little bit more, but like maybe I'm not in the mental state. I got my appointment in 2 weeks, and I kind of want to go in the mindset that I'm in right now, rather than being freshly kicked in the teeth again. But
yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. I guess my favorite quote, I guess, out of the movie, I guess if I had like one standout quote, I just pulled up the quote real quick so I don't misquote it, but this one really hit really hard. It was when Isabel's being fully put away, so Owen can continue as Owen and just like live life as that. soon you won't remember anything. Your real name, your superpowers, you won't even remember that you're dying. Like
Jesus.
that was that was hard. You truly do have to push it so hard that it's practically forgotten.
That's
This script
but
is
not only that,
incredible.
it's still hopeful in a way,
Right.
in saying that like you're beautiful and you are pretty and you have superpowers. Like you have a real name. Like you can do anything you want. But it's okay, you won't remember any of that.
Yeah, it's and what I like about that, even just stopping to think about it right now, to me it feels as if to say it's there, but also if you never find the strength to get there, it's okay. You know, there's a you know, almost a you haven't failed anything. You know, it's very understanding, I think, of the struggle, and
Well,
very comforting.
That voice specifically, I think, was Mr. Melancholy speaking.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very in character.
Okay. See, I took it. I wasn't aware that that was the character speaking. I was, man. See, I'm trying to read so many things. I'm trying to find stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
I
Totally get it.
It's deep, but yeah, it's. I don't really know what else can be said about it except that God, if you let us spoil so much about it without watching it, I wish you hadn't. And now you should definitely go watch it. Right?
Yeah, and maybe take the afternoon off if you're like any type of gender non-conforming or have thoughts of that.
Yeah,
sure.
It's very
don't
heavy.
go in with a full face of makeup.
See, I think the way that you saw this, Sable, and your reaction to it is probably on par with how I felt watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is about a mother-daughter relationship, which I'm very broken in that regard. And we went to the theater and the credits came, the lights came up, and I was bawling. I was hyperventilating in my seat. My friends had to wait for me so that I could like actually get up, because I was like, I can't handle it right now, and I'm processing a lot of emotions. So even though we felt different ways, I think I understand that feeling of like, oh my God, I feel so many emotions that I have just been walloped by a film. And I love that the director Jane Schoenbrunn was able to accomplish that. I think like even if it's not like everybody watching this, like being able to reach that level of somebody feeling your art is just incredible. And
one thing I wanted to say too, I wanted to talk about my experience with being able to see the film in the first place. Originally, a month had gone by after release, and it was completely missing the entire state. There were theater chains that were running the movie in other states, but not in any of their theaters in North Dakota. And I'd sent out emails being like, can we see this movie? They were re-airing other A24 films that had previously shown, but were not showing I Saw the TV Glow. And I just got like, I got back from like emails from two different chains being like, oh, we just don't think it would be profitable. And I thought it would never come here at that point. So I made a post on the A24 subreddit. Because that's where you go when you really want to get attention from a company. You go to their subreddit.
Yep,
and you make a post and you hope you get attention. Because there are always so many employees that follow their own subreddits. Mm-hmm. Like religiously. And I made a post about my frustrations. And I was trying to be like very nice about it. My experience with the film originally, as I just felt like I hadn't heard a ton about it, other than I had a feeling that it was a movie I really needed to go see. So I tried to go in as blind as possible from there. Mm-hmm. And guess a week within me making that post on the A24 subreddit, it was showing at the Fargo Theater. I don't know if they were planning to show it originally or whether or not they had just reached out and being like, we need to get this over to this area. I don't know what happened with that. I know there was like a 5-day notice before the tickets went up.
Yeah.
So that was
yeah,
weird.
it had. Yeah,
there was no notice, no nothing. I'm not going to say I had anything to do with it.
I am.
But that's
I'm
my
gonna say
story.
you had something to do with it. Yeah, it's
As far
and I
as we
was
know,
so,
sure. Yeah.
I was so frustrated because this was a movie that had been on my radar again because I had been such a fan of We're All Going to the World's Fair, and so I'm just looking and I'm looking, like especially the one local chain, I could see exactly what you were saying. It's playing all these other places, and it's not playing here in Fargo, the place that gets all those really weird, sort of like ultra conservative, like very thinly veiled political propaganda movies that play for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And this is the place that's not. Yeah, there's no. I can't imagine what the problem is with. It was so ridiculous to me that we couldn't get this film to play at the theater chain here. I'm so glad that it did come to the Fargo. I wasn't able to see it theatrically, and that's such a bummer because I would love to see this on a giant screen. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give you credit for this movie showing in Fargo theatrically at all. It's all because of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And then JD didn't get to see it anyway, though.
Hey.
So we thank you.
As long as somebody got to see it, as long as it got to play in another market, you know?
There was somebody outside of the theater, and I love this person so much. They were just like looking at everybody with like, it's gonna be okay, like you'll do great. As everybody's leaving the theater, just like messed up in shambles. And I love that person so much, and I hope that they have the best life.
That's fantastic.
So they had just watched the movie and they were outside, like
no, it
so
was like an employee that knew what people were gonna be walking out like, just like being like,
oh my god,
yeah.
I see. I thought it was like another audience like can comforting them, but yeah, that's so sweet.
One of the employees was
I
like
love seeing the
out.
Good parts of humanity. That's
Fargo Theater is a fantastic place.
There was a giant comedy event going on at the same time, so it was weird walking out because like I'm very nervous with any type of comedy, especially right now. We've become the joke of the big topic, the big thing everybody likes to talk about, and yeah, it makes me very nervous and very apprehensive about any type of comedy, so I just don't go. So I like was just like trying to like squeeze out really quick, but there's like hundreds of people like in the other venue.
Oh my god. Plus it's a comedy show and just all these other people coming out just heartbroken.
They're just like having the time of their life, laughing, just having a great time. And just a bunch of people coming out their makeup just like devastated from the room across. Just the exact opposite vibes, polar opposite. I love it. It was great.
That would have been awesome. I wish I could have been involved in I don't know what else we can say about this movie. This is a fantastic thing. Do you have anything else to say, Michelle?
I like purple, and this is a very purple movie.
I think that's an apt closing thought. Sable, anything else you would like to allow?
It's a very powerful movie, very much a must-see. I really, 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 really could not recommend it more.
Awesome.
If you've already seen it, bring Bi Effeminate Men over to your house to watch it with you.
I'm going to get you a list of A24 movies, Sable. We're going to really get you hooked into what they have to offer. Because if this is your first one, oh man, we have such sights to show you.
I did go off. I have seen, like, I've seen bits and pieces of lots of them, mainly because, like, TikTok loves to show me, like, films.
Yes.
And, like,
TikTok loves to
1/38
ruin
bits.
things.
Yes, it very much does. So I've seen a good portion of a couple of them, But one I did go back and watch like completely fully was Pearl recently, and that one was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's Michelle's favorite of those 3 Ty West X films.
X is, or Maxine is my favorite.
Oh, and that's
Maxine
right.
is my
I'm
favorite.
sorry.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the new
sorry.
one.
Right.
How dare you think Pearl is my favorite? I'm so
Oh,
upset.
pardon me. No, it's a fantastic film. I loved it.
Yeah. Did
All
you
right.
see okay, so you watched Pearl, but have you seen X then, the first one?
I have not seen X.
Okay. That Pearl is kind of like a pseudo sequel. It takes one of the characters and shows her earlier life. So X is the first one, and then Maxine is like the third one in the series that just came out. You'll have to go check out the trilogy and see if you enjoy it. I guess I didn't ask, did you enjoy Pearl? I just assumed you'd seen it.
I did, and like as an artist from a small town, scared I'll never get out kind of vibe thing, like
Yes.
it hits hard. And I watched it specifically with another person who's watching it for the first time, and they live in New York and they're trying very hard to be an actor. So like,
Oh no.
the movie hit pretty hard for like both of us.
Well, you
In like
should both
different
see
really
Maxine,
weird ways.
then.
That's another really unique movie that just like goes for horror that others don't go for.
Exactly. A24. I don't love all their stuff, but I
Yeah.
appreciate everything that they put out.
They're
Yeah.
like, what are the scary things scared of? And I like that vibe.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm like, it's not like traditional horror. Pearl kind of fits a little bit more because it gets kind of slashery, but I like when things are like, this is more, and I need people to understand. Like a horror drama is like the category that we need or something. Or like it's
Right.
gonna make you feel things besides fright, but it might make you feel fright just to like a way more extreme version than you expected, and not the kind that you were prepared for on a Tuesday night. Yeah.
And
Just need
absolutely, if Pearl made you feel some kind of way in that direction, see Maxine. The Pearl and Maxine characters, basically 2 sides of a coin, and I think you will find that movie a nice parallel or perpendicular idea to what we got in Pearl. Maxine is, without giving away too much, kind of the embodiment of what you might have hoped Pearl could be.
And Sable, before we let you go, you're a musician. Where can people find your music? What do you want to plug for them? Like, do you have pages? Do you have albums out there?
I'm currently in between a bunch of band members right now, so I still have my bassist Michael Hansen. We're working on like a little folk punk kind of style record. I used to do a bunch of old like acoustic stuff, so I'm making one more record like that in the meantime. I got a full band record coming on the way. You can find Straight Line Arrival on like Spotify, Bandcamp, anywhere music is streamed, YouTube. We haven't dropped anything since like
description.
Yeah, we haven't dropped anything since like 2020, but I promise we got stuff on the way. I got distracted collecting DVDs.
I didn't know you, and I didn't even know your name. And then JD mentioned you and said you might know them because they've been collecting Wedding Crashers. And I went, oh, I do know this person. You've made it into my realm of people who just enjoy movies of like, hey, Wedding Crashers, kind of like that person who's collecting so many Wedding Crasher DVDs.
Yeah, fun
so
fact.
seeing the collection is beautiful.
There's only like 5 people that make a majority of the internet. And like it's all just me and my friends.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Like I am very
It's really
surprised. The other day I found out one of my friends was the person responsible for the recent infatuation with the Chinese factory that just made some type of like chemical thing. I can't remember the name of it. It was a whole giant trend that made this company just blow up out of nowhere, and it was just this tiny Chinese like chemical factory.
Now I need
That's
to know
wild.
what that is. I tried to pseudo date the guy who was responsible for the Surge movement coming back. We went to college together. I just like people who find their little niche areas of things that we love, and we get kind of crazy with it.
It's fantastic. Oh, by the way, Sable, if just by chance any of our listeners would like to contribute to the Wedding Crashers DVD collection, do you have an address they can send DVDs to?
Oh, yes. I'm trying to get to 1,000. We're at 810 right now. You can mail it to Sable Sky, P.O. Box 2907, Fargo, North Dakota, 58108.
We'll put that in the episode description as well, along with some links to your musical stuff.
Yeah,
I
if you have
constantly go
a,
DVD hunting. I will be hoarding them and sending you boxes as I find them as a thank you for you coming on the show.
Yes.
Because I constantly DVD hunt, and so if you can't find any for a while, it might be my fault and you might have a box coming.
Heck yeah. There is one very obscure format I'm still trying to get my hands on.
I was gonna ask if you had like one unique one, like one that's only in Japanese and can't be like translated because it's like broken. It was only made in Japanese and they didn't put like any other languages or something.
I have a Korean VHS with a
bootleg.
unique case. It's the only one that has the chick on the case. I forget her name.
Hi again, everybody. It's JD. At this point in our recording, we once again experienced some unfortunate audio difficulties, but we were at a point where it was we were starting to wrap up, and so we're just going to go ahead and end things there. Again, we hope you found some value in the discussion we had today. I cannot thank Sable Sky enough for joining us and sharing their perspective and their experiences. And, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Say goodnight, Michelle. Michelle? Michelle, are you there? Mommy? For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot, see what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.